Castlevania Judgment.
Alright, welcome to my tutorial for Castlevania Judgment. I will not be going over the basics of fighting games, like how to reduce the opponent's HP to 0 to win the match, but the first link and the description of all of my videos, including this one, underneath the row of tildes, will have my website linked, and that website has all of the details you need regarding the basics of fighting games in general. Castlevania Judgment is a dead game. They had an online mode accessible here, but they shut down the servers over a decade ago. So in order to play this game online against other people, you need to emulate it using the DOLPHIN emulator, and you need to join the Discord to find matches through there. And there will be a link in the description for anything that you might need regarding that. I should also mention that I am playing the game at 60 FPS. You can do the same by right-clicking the game, going to Properties, going to AR Codes, and adding a new code and typing in this. This will cause the game to run at 60 FPS instead of the native 30 FPS. Before we actually get into the game, I should mention 1. Everything I'm about to say probably does not apply to Dracula, because Dracula is a boss character. He kind of just breaks all the rules. And you should go, before you do anything, go to Options and change your difficulty to Hard, because if you reduce the difficulty, that also reduces the HP of all CPU-controlled opponents, which includes the training mode dummy. So if you want accurate training mode damage, then you should set your difficulty to Hard. That will set the CPU's HP to 100%. You also do not have the ability to fully remap your controls in this game. You can play with one of 3 controllers, and then from here you set one of 3 presets, A, B, or C, and you have to follow one of these presets. I use preset type B for the GameCube controller, although I will be going over both A and B because A is the most popular because it's the default. To move your character, just move the left stick in any direction you want, and they will run in that direction. Notice that unlike other fighting games, you do not automatically face the opponent. It is very easy to attack the wrong direction, although there are certain attacks where if you're in range of the opponent and you are facing the wrong direction, they'll automatically turn around to attack them. The exact details regarding how a move auto-faces depends on the move and the character. To perform a basic normal attack, you press the B button, and there are 3 types of normal attacks. If you just stand still and press the B button, you get 1 attack. If you hold a direction and press the B button, you get a different attack, and you can also perform a jumping normal attack, which I'll go over jumping attacks later. But you also have attack chains, and you can see the details of this in the character's move list. For example, his neutral combo has 4 hits in it, so I can press B, 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 B to get a basic 4-hit combo, whereas my directional combo only has 3 hits, so I can do 1, 2, 3. Next we have special attacks. For GameCube Type A, you use the A button, and for GameCube Type B, you use the R button. But these buttons by themselves don't do anything. You have to hold the button down and then press the attack button. So you hold A or R, and then you press B. And these attacks are usually very unique to the character. And you can also cancel most, not all, but most normal attacks into special attacks. So I can do my combo like this. Just like normal, so you have the 3 special attacks, like you have your neutral, and you have your directional, and you have your jumping. But you also have charge specials. So the reason why you had to press 2 buttons to perform a special move is because if I hold A or R, depending on your controller type, my character flashes, indicating that I have charged my special. Now I have 2 other specials that I can perform. The first one is on the ground, and the second one is in the air. The amount of charge time, like the amount of time between pressing the button and your character flashing, depends on your character. For Simon, it's half a second. Some characters have 1 second, some characters have 1.5 seconds, some characters have 2 seconds. It just depends on the character. Next, we have sub-weapons. I'll go over sub-weapons in depth later, but if you hold and release the Y button on the GameCube controller for both Type A and Type B, release the Y button to perform your sub-weapon attack. And you also can hold the button down until your character flashes. This always takes 1 second. And then release it to do a powered up version. And you also have the aerial version of both of these. To guard, hold L for both Type A and Type B. When you guard attacks, you take no damage, 0 damage. Although there are 2 main weaknesses to this. The first of them is Unblockables. So if I press the attack button while guarding, I will perform this really slow unblockable attack. For the most part, for most characters, this move is useless because it's just too slow and you can dodge out of the way whenever you want. But there are some characters with really fast or annoying unblockables for other reasons. The other weakness of guarding is if you guard too much, you will be guard broken. So notice that spark that appears when she guards is blue, but if I make her block multiple attacks, it turns yellow, and then it turns red, and then she gets guard broken. And when you guard break the opponent, they take the full damage of the attack, they lose all of their hyper meter, and they're open to being comboed, so you get a free hit basically. And I should also mention that you can cancel your normals and your specials into sub-weapon attacks or unblockable attacks. So I can do something like this: normal, special, sub-weapon, or I could do normal, special, unblockable. That also works. But I cannot cancel between my sub-weapons and my unblockable. You have to choose between the two. Next, you can jump. For Type A, it's the R button. For Type B, it's the A button. So it's like swapping your special and your jump buttons. And you can jump in any direction you want. And you can double jump while in the air 1 time, although Golem and Dracula cannot double jump. And Maria, instead of double jumping, she'll like float in the air. She's a unique case. Notably, you cannot guard while jumping. So if you jump at the opponent, you're sort of committed. They can easily punish you if they predict where you're going to go. Next, we have dodges. So if you flick the C stick in any direction, it doesn't matter which direction, your character will roll forward. These are invincible immediately on the first frame to everything, but then they are vulnerable for about the second half of their animation. The exact frame data of these will vary from character to character. Some characters have more invincibility, some characters have less recovery, etc. But they're always invincible on the first frame, unless you play Dracula. Next we have your hypers. So at the start of the round, your hyper gauge will be half full, and it will slowly build as you and the opponent attack each other. And once it's full, it'll start to blink, indicating that you can now perform your hyper attack. And these are usually really slow, but really high damage attacks. And what makes them unique is that they are unaffected by damage scaling. I'll talk about damage scaling more later, but basically that means that they deal more damage than you would expect at the end of long combos. The problem is that you cannot cancel into them, so actually comboing into your hyper is pretty difficult. Most characters have few or no ways of comboing into their hypers, which means that this whole bar down here for certain characters is just kind of useless. You never really look at it because you can't use it in any way. Although there are some characters like Shanoa who have unique ways of spending their hypermeter in ways other than performing a hyper attack. And finally we have interactable objects. I'll talk more about objects later, but if you stand near an object and then interact with it, your character will perform a unique attack. And for Type A, you hold A and then press Y. But for Type B, which is what I'm on, you hold X and press L. And in Simon's case, he literally just throws the thing at the opponent. But other characters might leave a trap at the object's location, and other characters might absorb the object to buff themselves, etc. Now I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on how movement works, because this game's kind of janky, and sometimes it might seem like your character is not doing what you want them to do, and I just want to do my best to try to alleviate that problem. So first of all, unlike most other fighting games, you have 360-degree control over the direction your character moves. In most fighting games, it's 8-way direction. Like I can move left, or I can move up, or I can move diagonally up and left, but anything in between those are not possible. In this game, they are possible. For example, I can go straight down like this, or I can go a little to the left like this, or I can go a little to the right like this. You might be familiar with this if you've played Smash Bros. Melee, for example, which also uses the GameCube controller. However, unlike Melee, there is no tilting. So if I slowly go from neutral on the stick to a tilt, my character does not move. He's still not moving, he's still not moving, he's still not moving. But as soon as I cross that threshold, he runs at full speed. So there is no tilting to make your character walk slowly or anything like that. You may also notice when I stop running, my character goes, ugh! This is a skidding animation whenever you let go of the stick while running. And you can cancel the skidding into anything you want except another run. So if I start running and I stop and I try to turn around and run again, it does not really work the way I want it to. I'm going to be standing there like an idiot for a really, really, really long time. I don't want to do that. So to avoid this, just never go to neutral while running. So if I want to switch directions, like go down and then up again, all I have to do is, instead of going up and then down, I go up and then I like curl around like this to down, but faster, like this. So again, in slow motion, it looks like this, right? Where I slowly turn the stick around the edge like this, and fast like this. That's how you avoid skidding. If I just go straight across the middle, I do this. And I get that skid animation. Different characters will have different skid animations. I chose Grant because Grant's skid is really, really bad. And his run speed is really, really good, so there's like a big contrast there. Next, I want to talk about jumping. When you jump from standing still, you are in pre-jump for 4 frames. So if I press the attack button after those 4 frames, I'll get a jumping attack. But pre-jump is actually cancelable into anything. So I can jump and then guard, and it'll cancel my pre-jump. So if you want to perform a jump attack as fast as possible, it's actually a frame perfect input, because if you're too early, it will just do the input on the ground. And that being said, that's if you jump from standing still. If you run first, you have 1 frame of pre-jump. So I can press jump and then attack on the next frame to get a jumping attack as early as possible. That is actually faster than just standing still. So for example, Simon's fastest attack is his jumping normal attack, which hits on frame 9. Simon, if he stands still and then jumps and then waits for his pre-jump and then does the normal attack, can punish an attack that's minus 13 on guard, because he has to sit through the 4 frames of pre-jump and then the attack hits on frame 9, so 4 plus 9 is 13. But if he runs for 1 frame and then jumps on the next frame and then attacks on the next frame, then that is 1 frame of running, 1 frame of pre-jump, and then 9 frames of startup. So it actually hits on 2 plus 9, 11. It'll hit 2 frames faster if you do a running jump attack as opposed to a standing jump attack. Certain attacks can be canceled by jumping, and this will be character specific, but for the most part, it's any normal or special attack that launches the opponent into the air. So for example, that launches the opponent into the air, so I can jump cancel it, but just a regular jab does not. And this can be normals, or it can be specials as well. You also have landing recovery when you land from a jump, where they like squat down and then stand back up again. And if you do a regular jump like this, Your landing recovery is 5 frames, but if you perform a jumping attack like this, it is extended to 9 frames, so you have 4 extra frames of landing recovery. What makes recovery unique is that you can cancel landing recovery with basically anything except for guarding or dodging. So you cannot defend yourself during landing recovery, so it is technically punishable, but for the sake of combos, you might be able to get more stuff there because you get to attack sooner than you think. Next, I'm going to talk about the sub-weapon system. So when you pick your character, you pick your outfit, but you also have to select one of 4 sub-weapons, and the choices you have here depend on your character. For example, with Eric, he has the axe, the dagger, the holy water, and the cross. In his case, the cross is usually just better. And so you notice now, behind my head, you start with the selected sub-weapon. In this case, I chose cross. Now, normally you would start with 10 hearts, but because it's training mode, I have 99 hearts. And you can spend your hearts by performing your sub-weapon attacks. If you gain hearts by collecting them, oh great. And you gain hearts by collecting them from broken objects. Although the object that you get from breaking an object is random, you have a 30% chance of finding a small heart. The player who walks over the small heart will gain 5 hearts. You also have a 30% chance of finding a large heart. The player who walks over a large heart will gain 10 hearts. You also have a 30% chance of finding a sub-weapon box, which is a little gold box in the ground that will randomly change your sub-weapon from what it is currently to a different one. And in this case, you have 4 choices. You have the 3 choices that you didn't pick at character select, plus the stopwatch. So I'm just going to go to training mode and change my sub-weapon here. You see, I still have the axe, the cross, the dagger, and the holy water, but now I also have the stopwatch as a 5th option. So you cannot start with the stopwatch. You can start with the other 4, but you cannot choose to start with the stopwatch. You have to find the stopwatch randomly from a broken item. That is a 30% chance of finding a sub-weapon box, and it is a 1 in 4 chance after the 30% drop to get the stopwatch. And there are 2 other items that you can get from breaking an object. There is a 6.7% chance of getting a double rapid fire box, and there is a 3.3% chance of getting a triple rapid fire box. But it's training mode, so I'm not gonna waste my time looking for those boxes. If I put myself on double shot, now I can cancel my sub-weapon into itself an extra time, or if I have the triple shot, I can do it a 3rd time. And as you might expect, this is very useful for certain characters and certain combos. However, you'll also notice that each individual cast still consumes the regular amount of hearts. And the last thing I want to talk about in this video is the combo system of this game. It's pretty basic. I've already talked about the cancels. First, you have the input buffer. So any attack performed with the B button has a 4-frame buffer, which means that the hardest link, quote unquote, in the game is a 5-frame window. This does not apply to everything in the game. It only applies to attacks, and it does not apply to sub-weapon attacks. So any input you perform with the dodge button, or the sub-weapon button, or the jump button does not have a buffer on it. We also have damage modifiers. So different characters have different damage modifiers. So while every character has the same health, not every character will take the same damage from the same attacks. For example, a really large, tall, burly, strong character like Golem will take reduced damage, whereas a small character like Alucard will take increased damage. And this also applies to the guard gauge. Almost every character has the exact same durability on their guard gauge, but the guard damage they take from attacks depends on the same damage modifier as their HP does, so characters with less HP will also get guard broken more quickly. Except for Golem and Dracula, who have double the amount of guard durability from all the other characters. Next we have combo scaling. So if you're familiar with other fighting games, you already know about this, but combo scaling in this game is directly related to the combo counter. So if I hit him twice, it says 2 hits. So the first hit in a combo deals all of its damage, 100%. But the second hit only deals 90% of its damage. Then the third hit deals 85% damage, then 80, then 75, then 60, then 40, then 30, then 25, then 10, and then 10 again, and it stays on 10. I don't know why they chose that. I don't know, that makes sense to me. And the same also applies to gravity scaling, or more specifically, the amount of upward force applied to the opponent when you hit them depends on how many moves were in the combo before it. So if I hit him with my cross, he gets launched a decent bit, but I can also do a longer combo like this. 4 hits and then the cross, and he doesn't get launched nearly as high. This applies to the first hit that launches them. It also applies to any hits that hit them while they're already airborne. And this is the only system in place to directly combat infinite combos. 2 more things. You have quick rises and bounces. So if you are knocked off your feet, look very closely at his health bar. He gets hit, he loses some HP, and then when he lands, bam, he loses some more HP. So when that happens, you can quick rise by pressing the B button, your attack button. Like that. And that will negate that little bit of fall damage that you would have taken. So you can avoid certain combos by quick rising. And just like with your attacks, your quick rise has a 5-frame window, and you can mash the button all you want. So anytime you get knocked into the air by the opponent, make sure you're just mashing B's to make sure that you quick rise as fast as possible to avoid the extra fall damage and to avoid any extra OTG hits. One other thing that I should mention is that you cannot OTG usually with your hypers or any sort of cinematic attack. So for example, if I do this, I don't get the full animation of the hyper. I just get that one hit and he gets up. And finally we have bounces, which look like this. It's where the opponent gets slammed on the floor and bounces off the ground. When you get hit by a bounce, you can quick rise on the initial bounce. So for example, you can quick rise instantly, but if I fail that first quick rise, I cannot quick rise on the follow-up. And it's important to call out these bounces because there are certain pre-built attack strings in the game that have a bounce in the middle of them. So while most attack strings in your move list are true combos, but some of them are not. A few of them are not because there is a bounce in the middle of them. For example, my directional attack with Simon has a bounce on the middle hit. So while it looks like it's a 3-hit combo, it's actually not. Because he can quick rise the middle hit because it's a bounce. And so even at like tournament level, from what I've seen of this game, there are people who are trying to do combos with bounces in the middle of them, and I'm like, that's not a real combo. But anyway, that's everything that I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching.